In this interview, I meet up with Francis Piche, who is a mindset coach, founder and CEO of Resilience Element, and top sales performer with 20 years of focused sales experience, inspired by his passion to help people reignite their life, remove their mental barriers, and reawaken their inner power to support life and business results. Let's welcome Francis. So thank you so much for coming in today, Francis. It's a pleasure having you on this interview.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. And I wanted to start by asking you, you're a mindset coach and a founder and CEO of Resilience Element. Why is resilience so important, especially at a time like this?
Well, resilience, I think for me, is really an element that we, first of all have. We were born with it. And the good news is that we can generate it. And why is that so important is that I felt that for all the people that I've watched, the one that are high achievers or one that have, are high performers, they have one thing in common is that when they go through a difficulty, they're able to transcend that breakdown into a breakthrough. And the element that they had is called resilience. So my own definition of resilience is not bouncing back. It is actually bouncing forward. So there's a growth out of that. So the good news is that if anyone right now are suffering or in a challenge, and not too long from now, they're going to be able to bounce forward. So there's a breakthrough that's just waiting. This is a positive thing. So, congratulations. If you're in something that's difficult right now, later on, you're going to say that was actually a breakthrough that I generated. So congratulations.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's true, right? Like we always say, failure is your opportunity to learn and grow. Similar, right? Very, very close.
Absolutely. And, just an idea that popped in my head is I was watching Sarah Blakely, the founder of, what's that called again, that company? I'm sure the ladies know. Spanx, right? So she started, and one of the things that she had when she was young was that her dad was asking her and her brother every day, what did you fail at today? So, it's interesting because they really kind of put failure in a different level where it was actually not a good thing that you didn't fail, because that meant that you didn't learn anything, or that meant that you didn't try anything. So the real failure was not to try anything, not to fail at something, because that meant that you're stagnant. So the redefinition of failure is great, because it is actually helping us. And so for me, I'm a big proponent of, done is better than perfect. Do it, fail at it, learn something, and because you're gonna get closer and closer to what you really want.
Yeah. And resilience is, as much as it's important to adults, it's also important to children, and it's something that we should foster, right? How can a parent start doing that, do you think?
Absolutely. I think we had a discussion earlier on, and it was really about being the role model and leading by example. And I think that if children have that concept of resilience inside them, and like I said, everyone has it. It's just a matter of, that's why I say reawakening your inner power. So you have it now, you just have to remember how strong and beautiful you are. And so for kids, if they're able to display that, that's going to help them through so much. First, there's so many ways you can fail, right? You at school, or losing your friends. And, if they can start to see, oh, I'm not taking it personal, it's actually part of the process, and there's something great that's going to turn out of it, I think we would have happier children. Yeah.
So you talk about 5 components of resiliency, right? Is
Yes.
that the correct way of saying it? Yeah. So can you tell us what that is, a little bit about it, like briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 5 components. And those components I think are very simple. Maybe some people have already heard them. And like Einstein, he's got a simple formula of E=mc squared. And it's also very comprehensive. So the point is that if you exemplify these 5 components at a high level, so if, let's say, from 0, you're not really doing it, then 10, you're absolutely doing one of those components. And if you do that for the 5, you'll be able to thrive, and you'll be able to transcend any breakdown. So the 5 components quickly, and we can go through 2 more in details. The number 1 is clarity.
Mhm.
So picture you have a goal. Are you really clear on it? And then you have conviction. So as to the number, why is that important? I'm really going on the surface right now. The third one is certainty. So, or, if you had that certainty level inside you as to, I know I'm going to be taken care of through the whole process. The journey is great, and I know that it's going to happen. Imagine how strong you would be to go through any obstacles and challenges. The
Mhm.
fourth one is commitment. So obviously you got to take action on your goal, and there's some distinctions to make into, what's a commitment, and then the fifth one and the last one is courage, because you can do all these 4 components, and unfortunately, like we said, you're going to fail. So if you hit the wall, now are you going to stop, or you're going to stand up again and keep on going? And that's where you need some courage.
Yes, yes. I saw when I heard about this from you, like I saw a direct relation to what our audience right now who are thinking of alternative education for their kids, right? They're at that on the fence. Should I do it? Is that going to be okay? Am I going to ruin my kids' future if I choose to take them out of the traditional school, right?
Mhm.
All these internal fears, and they're like stressed out. They want to do it, but they don't know if they should or not, right? So that's why, what out of those you were going to share too, like what would, like, I think clarity is really good, right? Because as a parent, you really need to make a choice, right? A clear
Yeah,
choice.
yeah, and it's a distinction. It's I'm thinking about clarity. Sometimes I'll just mention, actually, there's just an exercise that popped in my head, because I can relate to a friend of mine that had to go through a dilemma. So I'm assuming that maybe some of the parents have some dilemmas about a choice to make, and sometimes we just know the clarity at a very surface level, but do we really know what it would look like? you know so for my friend, and I'll tell my own example after, he was debating if he should separate or not from his wife and 2 kids. It's not an easy decision,
Mm-hmm.
and over years, you try, it doesn't work, you try, it doesn't work, but the point is that you're kind of stuck in the middle because you're not really making one decision or the other. That's the dilemma, right? And that's where the suffering is when you're in the middle, you're not acting in one direction or the other. So the exercise that he did, which was really amazing, is that I call it the perfect list. So you have, how's my life perfect by being with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
and you describe it. So you go through it like, how my life is so perfect because we had that talk together, and since we were aligned on the same values and the way to do it, like kids are happy, and we spend time together. We have our date nights together. We communicate very well, and you just go through, like, you write it down. So and then you feel great. It's because it's great. It's the great
Yes.
list, the perfect list, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call it perfect, but great on the how's how is my
Happy
life
list.
great with happy list.
List.
And then you do it on the other side, which here's how my life is great without my
Mm.
partner.
Th-
So it could look like, we talked and we realized that actually we didn't have the same values, not aligned, and it was that our life was great because both of us were being able to meet the partner that really fit our description, and kids understood it, and our level of energy was actually better, and it was better for the whole environment, for our kids, for our friends, for ourselves. And so he made that list, and he wrote how great his life would be without. And so now you have 2 lists,
Mm.
one that's great on both sides.
Yes.
So 2 lists, they're great on both sides, and now you're not stuck in the middle. And I think he shared that with his partner,
Mm.
and that was great because now they're realizing, one, okay, so the misalignment, so it takes some courage, but at the end of the day, you're not stuck in the middle anymore. and
Mm.
um and I've done that for myself because I can relate to sometimes having regret as to a situation that happened for me. Was, for example, a partner that I was engaged with, and then I revisited the idea 5 years after that maybe it would be great to be together. And what happened for me is that I was looking at the past, and I was always just remembering like the beautiful sides of it,
Mm.
and without remembering the rest. And so I asked myself in almost the same way, is how would my life look like vividly if I had to live with that person? Because I always remember the good sides, but I
Definitely.
forget about how it would look like. So I'm like, okay, let's go through this life right now. Let's go through it and see what it would look like. So for example, for the kids, like you just suggested, remote education, how would that really look like? Vividly, like the details, the day-to-day stuff, just not just the concept, but going through it. Okay, I would wake up at this, I wouldn't have to wake up at this time, I would have to maybe compromise, put more, allocate more time, whatever that is, but you go through it. And so I did that with my partner in my head, and I don't think I wrote it down, but I really went through it, and I said, okay, I would go through my day and that would look like this. And then I realized that wouldn't work because there's some trait of her personality that was misaligned. And I realized, oh, I know why we're not together. And actually, no, I don't think it would be a good idea. So without going through in the whole clarity exercise, I think I would have just stayed at the surface level. And then
Kind of cycle.
it's a cycle. You're clinging, you're getting attached versus really knowing what does that look like.
Yeah.
And for any goals, that's why people could say, well, I want to lose some weight, or I want to get in more, a better situation, a financial situation. So okay, so how does that look like?
Yeah.
Oh, if that's an amount of money, what is the amount of money, by when? Having those, so just clarity itself could bring a lot more resilience when you want to make a decision and really go through your goal and achieve it.
Yeah, that is a great advice. I do that a little differently, which is pretty. I don't think it's that great idea. I'll tell you what it is. I actually make a list too, like cut the paper in two halves, right? And then I'll write all of it out. But I was writing the bad and the good. But yours is even better because it's one. It seems like you're just writing the bad stuff, right? So I kind of was like thinking about what would outweigh the other one, like, and then it'll look like a bar graph, and you're like, ooh, the bad stuff is too long, so I'm not going to do this, right?
Yeah, and you can. I mean, it's I like to take decisions out of the heart. I think at this point is more of a head decision, and that's okay. I mean, you can do it what feels comfortable with you. I think the truth is our own. The what I like about the exercise is that I think that ultimately we want to be happy. So hence the reason why doing it, how my life is great with that option, and how my life is great on that option. Why being in the middle? And I think in general, that's where we, unfortunately, this is where the suffering is happening. And this is where I know for myself, I got to make a decision. It's either all in one or all in the other, because when I'm in the middle,
It's not
this is
healthy.
where the suffering is. And it's always at the end, just a choice. They
Yeah.
say pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice.
Yes,
And
yes.
I know it's hard to understand, and it took me a while to understand that. And I was lucky to have amazing coaches and on mindset. And I even remember that one of my coach, because there's only one, but he said, what did he say? He said, yes, adversity or is a choice.
Hmm.
And at first, what? Or
Hmm.
stress is a choice,
Yeah.
because stress is stressful thoughts. So
Yes.
who's choosing those stressful thoughts?
Yep.
It's just us. So then once you realize, and the beautiful news about that is that you start to own 100% everything that's happening. So that means we have control on everything. So if something happens, yeah, that part we cannot control, but we can control the rest. And we that means that we can control the suffering, which is
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And there's really no reason why we couldn't achieve anything. My dad sent me something this weekend, and it was about a kid that's 3 years old, and he was born with only one arm,
Mm.
and he's playing golf. He's 3 years old,
Oh,
and he's
wow.
only playing with one arm. And he's inspiring so many people that he had the chance to meet Tiger Woods, Palmer, all of the big guys, and he's shooting the ball 50 yards. He's 3 years old, and to
Wow.
him, there's no obstacles, there's
Limitation.
no excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm born with this. This is my pain, but now do I want to suffer with this all my life? No, I love golf, and I'm gonna find a way. So, which
Mm-hmm.
means I think brings to the second component, which we can talk about, is conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important?
Mm-hmm.
And to go back quickly on clarity, a really good, powerful exercise that I've done myself is to slow down and do nothing for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, we can come up with a lot of excuses like I did. Are you crazy? 3 days of doing nothing? What? And
Just took a deep breath when you said that.
right. So because you know, no looking at the TV, no social media, not even journaling, not even, you know, and it sounds crazy. And you know, you just got to trust the process, because I was challenged to do it.
Mm,
And because I gave my word, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And it created the company that I created now, because it just removed all the distractions. It created the space that I needed to get all the downloads of ideas. And when you match it, now let me introduce you conviction. While you do this exercise, I would challenge people to say, okay, for whatever time you decide to have, and if they're wondering, what can I do? You can go in nature, you can meditate, you can see your friends. That's what I did. And I'll tell you a quick story after that. But you know, so you do nothing, and then the challenge, you go 5 years from now in your agenda, and on that page, so if it's in your phone or on your page, you write this.
mm,
This is the day that I die.
mm.
So now what are you going to do in between? What's the point? What's the point of being here on earth?
For the
You know,
next.
we've been given, we don't realize it, but we've been given this breath. This breath
Yes.
is inside of us. I don't know if you can control it. I don't. Like, it's something that I've been given, and it could go out of me like this.
Yeah.
So now let's not waste it.
Yeah.
Let's not waste our breath. And it's an honor to have it. So let's honor it. So who would you like to become, really, if you had 5 years to live? And so
Mhm.
I was asked this question at combined with this 3 days of doing nothing. And it was super powerful, because now I felt, yeah, why, what's the point? Why am I here?
Mhm.
Who do I want to be remembered for?
Mhm.
And then I thought, you know, I'm gonna go for my dreams.
Yeah.
I know it, you know, because I really have no idea. It's true. I have no idea if I'm gonna have 5 years. I can have 1 week or
Yeah.
maybe 10 years, but I absolutely have no idea. I don't have that time machine to know exactly when it's gonna be over. So I felt, hey, I'm gonna use my life to be enlivened, to be self-expressed, to achieve anything I want. And this is what started Resilience Element, because I felt, okay, you know, I'm interested about happiness. I'm interested about the people that achieve like their wildest dream. And I found that the resilience was the component, that the element that they had. So I'm like, I want to study that. I want to know, I want to share it to the world. That's my contribution. So,
Mm.
you know, right there, right, you know, they can use clarity and conviction, just that combined, super powerful to be able to withstand any obstacles you have. Because, you know,
Mm.
once you know the reasons why you're doing it, the wall, you can hit the wall, but it doesn't matter, because I have a calling, I have a purpose. And if you don't know your purpose yet, well, you know, the clarity and the exercise of doing nothing will help.
Yeah.
And then I would say, follow your heart. You know, once you get that feeling of, I like that, I'm passionate about that, or it brings me joy, explore it.
Yeah.
And I've done that many times. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you explore it, you don't like it, but at least you know, and then you can
Yes.
just take another decision.
Yeah. Yeah. You will have some proofs, right?
Exactly.
What will happen. And I love your idea about that list. That's something everyone, like right now, the parents should actually write that. And what cool about it is that it's both are positive,
Exactly.
happy things, right?
Because you don't want to be in the middle, right? So then you're like, how can I get to this list, or how can I get to that list?
Yeah.
And the exercise of doing nothing, this short story was, you know, it's funny how when you do these things, you realize the beauty that's like in the present moment. So I decided to go get some ice cream, because I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
And there was a huge lineup.
Yeah.
And I was probably the only one with a big smile on my face. I'm like, hey, I got nothing to do, you know? So I'm in the line and I'm enjoying it, because to me, it's like kind of killing time. I'm like, yeah, 25 minutes, no problem. Yeah, I'm sure. Because I was not worried about the future. I was just in the present moment. I couldn't think about the future. I had to do nothing. So there was no calls to make,
Nice.
nothing organized for work. I decided to block it. And you know, at the time I was in real estate, and you know, I could have received some calls, and I would have probably had to answer them. But the universe was so friendly. I didn't start anything, I didn't create anything, so I just was waiting for. And then I was blessed with doing nothing, and it
Mm.
was what started everything.
Awesome. Awesome. So, post COVID, a lot of people are going through a lot of troubles, different troubles, right? We all have our own way of struggling with this, right? Post COVID. One of the things is that, as a, man, fathers, they have difficult time expressing themselves, right? Like, they want to hold it together because culturally we believe, men believe that I can't show my weakness. If I do, like, if I share anything, I'll look weak, right? So how can they at this stage in the family, a lot of people fear there's going to be a lot of breakup and marriages are going to fall apart because of what's happening. How can they share what they're going through without feeling that they don't need to be stuck in that place, right? They can share
Right.
share
Well, you just said it. I think that's the solution, is to share. And I'm not a dad. I want to be a dad, and all I can share for me is I know one of my friend, and he's gonna go through a separation. So there's that, and I opened the door for him to share how he's feeling. And even I can relate to myself that when I'm going through a challenge for some reason, because we feel we're the warriors and we don't want to, so we kind of go into our man cave, and we're gonna build it by ourselves. And thank God I have a coach, because that's what helps me. So I would say, is to share. And I have another friend, same thing, friends, and illness went into their family, and he reached out. That's what he first did. And then I said, hey, I'm here for you. Just tell me, no, let me know. And then he went silent. And then he apologized after. He's like, I know I reached out and then I went silent. And I think it's just because, we have that conception that sharing those things is that vulnerability part is not showing that we're a man. And I think that's actually the contrary. When we are able to share and really kind of just put our arms down on the table and say, hey, I need some help, this is where it's powerful, because you get come back and you can help the tribe and the community faster. So, really, I think one of the questions we can ask ourselves is, what's the cost of not sharing and not getting back on? Because you can stay in the man cave for a while. And you're at that time, what you don't realize is you're not serving your own tribe. You're not serving your brothers. You're not serving your sisters and your wife and your kids and whatnot. So it is actually, so yeah, it seems scary. You kind of open up your armor and you're like, okay, I'm not perfect. And then you get some help, and you'd be surprised by the number of people that are going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what I do is, yeah, there's a little bit moment incubator, you go through it, but then I know that, I gotta reach out. So I have an accountability partner. That's one of my friend, and I can tell him anything and he can tell me anything. And I also have a coach. So, I guess the answer is being in the right environment, and having that courage, and it gets easier. This is the thing. It gets easier and easier to share, because you realize how faster you can come back on track and bounce forward. And then you also see the progress you're making, and you're thinking, wow, I wish I had done that earlier. And so it becomes more of an automatic to do it. And the beauty is also that when you form these friendships with people and you have that environment, the other people are doing it to you too. So you can help each other. And it becomes such a strong bond that I know I can use, not use my friend, but reach out to my friend, and he's going to say something, and that puts me back on in the right time mindset, and I can bounce forward.
Yeah. And the story you shared with us earlier about your friend writing that list and sharing, even if you're going through separation or whatever at this point in your life, right? And if you make a list like that and share it, and then now we both know why it might be an answer to separate, or it might not, right? It just
Well,
brings that
yeah.
clarity.
And the first phase for them was, oh, okay. And well, I mean, it was not necessarily a surprise, but at least it was really being honest and an open discussion. And the thing is, I like to start with, this is where the clarity comes in too, is the assumption is that we're not there to hurt anyone.
Yep.
And it's never personal. If when there's a trigger in life, it's never about the external circumstances, is how we put a meaning to it. So if we can actually just be honest with the other person, and I do that with my team, is we open up and we share these things, and it has nothing to do with you. This is how I see it. And then I'm not judging you. This is how I see the situation. And so that's what my friend did. And then what the first step was, they felt, okay, we're going to be together. We're going to go to that beautiful, great list, that beautiful scenario. That's how we're going to live. And then they realized after that it was not possible. It was going back to the middle. And then after that, they separated. So it could have gone both ways. The beauty is that it really opened up like a lot more possibilities and avoided a lot of suffering by being stuck in the middle for a long time. So, it could actually just be a great, jumping board to a beautiful relationship. Who knows, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you have a lot of like you have a workshop on all these 5 elements, right? Great workshop that if parents wants to, look
And
for
it's
it.
for anyone, it's for anyone really. I think, here's the thing. I don't think that we can say that we're not affected by, when we work, we're thinking about a relationship. When we're in our relationship, we think about work. Ideally we don't, but the thing is, it's all meshed together. And so this is why I say that resilience is seven categories of your life. So you can work at each of those categories and say, okay, I want to work on my career now. I want to work on my business. I want to work on my finance. I want to work on my health. I want to work on my relationship. And then you do that exercise for all these categories of life, and you have the clarity, why is that important, conviction, all these components. I mean, it's a beautiful life that you're able to create. So we go through the 5 components. It's 7 weeks, and it's a group coaching, so it's fun because you're not alone.
It's always good to
So
learn
the
with a
one
group.
thing that's available for
Very
everyone is that there's a webinar and they can go through it, and that's just me giving the best that I've got to help right away. And I highly suggest that if people are interested, that they take a pen and they jot it down and they work at it, because now what's the point of just like watching with no action, right?
Yeah,
So they can start to make an impact right away.
yeah. Especially for those parents who are on the fence about making a decision to send their kids back to traditional school, or do I do the other alternative schooling, right? It would be a great list to form and even share it with
Yeah.
your kids, right?
And another thing is, I love what you're saying, because when you say I'm scared of, what are you really scared of?
Yeah,
That's clarity.
yeah,
It's we can see the first step, but can you see after that why?
yeah,
I'm scared of this because of, and why? Because of, and then why? Because of, and then you get to a point you're like, huh, actually that doesn't even make sense.
yeah.
And is that and the reason why we're afraid, is that truly legitimate? Is that
Mm,
for real? Can you
mm,
say 100% that this is the reason why you're afraid? Usually
mhm,
it's a meaning that we attach to it. And is there a proof? Because I can probably find a reason why you shouldn't be scared. So
mhm.
this is good to actually go through our fears and say, what am I really scared of?
Yeah.
And then you remember after that is like, why am I here on earth?
Mhm.
So what's the point? Should I be scared about this? Is that true and legitimate? And if I decide that it is true, because this is your choice, because other people would have a different opinion, then how do I go about it?
Yep.
And you decide your scenarios. Great on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So finally, what is your life mission now? Like you have successful company now, right? It wasn't always like that, right? You were
Yeah,
resilient.
well, we're still in the startup phase, and we have 6 partners now, so it's beautiful. I'm not alone in this mission. So, and I think it's just when you follow your heart, the people are getting attracted to it. So I was just talking to someone before our call, and they resonate with. We all have our own individual mission. Our mission is really to help 1 billion people in 10 years.
Nice.
How do you do that with like someone that view and gets inspired by the documentary, or go at a deeper level, either through coaching or either through one-on-one private coaching? So there's different ways of doing it, and my goal, my vision was always, I see that there's that power, that inner power that's dormant, and I want my people, my friends, everyone to just live a life that's worth living, right? And be able
Mhm.
to reignite that potential that they have and remove the mental barriers, because we're the ones putting those mental barriers.
Yep.
And by reawakening this inner power, you can now support your life, you can support your business, you can support all, and thrive instead of
Yeah.
surviving. So I don't see the point of living in survival mode.
Yep.
And usually we're just a decision away to make a bold request to someone to change that, right? Like there's so many possibilities. That's what I get excited, because we can control our life. And if you need some help, can you call someone that can help you? But sometimes we're thinking, well, I don't want to make that call because I'm going to look like. That's your call. That's your decision. Everything's possible. Can you sell something? You need some finance. Can you sell something that you actually don't use? Can you help someone and say, or offer your services? There's so many possibilities. Everything is possible. That's why I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. It's beautiful. And I think even though, what you do is not directly related, you do work with a lot of parents. Like, parents are the entrepreneurs and business people too, right? And it
Exactly.
affects them. When family is affected, it affects your business performance. Everything gets affected, and your children's education is not in line. It
Yeah.
does affect you 24/7, right? So those things needs to be cleared up. So that's why, even though this is I started off as a alternative educational options exploration, but I ended up noticing that it would never be holistic if you don't have a family balance. How can you focus on just education? It doesn't work, right?
Exactly. Well, and I want to acknowledge you for bringing all these people all together, because I believe that you're creating an amazing community. I believe parents will now have great people that they can talk to. This is amazing. This is beautiful. And I know you're driven from the heart, so I know it's already successful. So, kudos on you for creating this, and thank you for inviting me. If I could just help a little bit someone by what I said, we've got it done. So,
A
thank you.
lot. We have a systematic way of thinking about our fear now. Like, I'm
Yeah,
a system thinker, and I just now have a system of thinking, right? Like, it's important not to get stuck in your brain cycle of going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right? Like, get
and
out of it.
I'll finish with that. I think it's just like life is created by our choices.
Yep.
Everything is meaningless. There's an event. Now, the best example I can say, which could help, is that you see this cup, and then on one side you see missions made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can say, hey, this is the event, and you're like, this is mission made. I'm like, what are you talking about? No, this is Phil's coffee. No, this is mission made. So from your perspective, you're right. But when you look on the other side, it's Phil's coffee. So the event is here, but there's so many different angles, which means that at the end of the day, what makes this event A or B is the meaning that I put to it, is what I see in my perspective. So all I can do is change my perspective, and then I'm changing my world. And I am the one that can choose that. And that's why you're a creator. So this is beautiful. This is beautiful, and I personally see myself creating my future. Every time I meditate, I'm imagining it, and I know that there's only one thing that prevents me to do it, and it's just how I think. And so, you're in charge.
Yes. We are all in charge. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're
Absolutely.
welcome.
Beautifully said. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Kavila.